Welcome to Speedy Bear's Bluegrass Guitar Lessons. Today we're going to start with lesson number 2 of a series of 21 lessons. And by this time you should have finished lesson number 1, or at least are working on lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is the same notes all the way through as lesson number 1. One big difference is what we call the hammers and the pulls. So we're adding those in to lesson number 2. Okay, by now you should already have the scale, the pentatonic scale, the G major pentatonic scale should already be under your fingers, maybe memorized, and you should be working on it, trying to get it up to that 200 mark. Okay, so what we're going to do first is just start off reminding you of the scale. I'll start off playing it at 100, and then we'll move up from there. So that's the G major pentatonic scale played at 100, and now we're going to play it at the 200 mark, which is double the 100 mark. Okay, so that's a reminder of the G major pentatonic scale. Now, the exercises, the second part of this page, is using hammers and pulls. So what we're going to do is talk about what those are. If you see the little slurs, the little notes, the little lines, curved lines underneath or over the top of the notes, those are slurs. When you see a slur ascending, going up from one note below to one note higher, or not always one note, but to a higher note, then that's called a hammer, okay? If you see a note going from a higher note to a lower note on the slur, then we call that a pull-off. Okay, so hammers and pulls, we call these. So let's talk about the hammer. What we're going to do is just describe to you what a hammer is and how to do it. So you play, I'm going to play the G open, and then I'm going to hammer on the second finger. Okay, so it becomes a hammer. Now here's how we do the hammer. It's important that we know that the hammer is a strike, not a put. If we just put our finger on this string, we can squeeze all day and we're not going to get any sound, okay? So it's a strike, it's an all-at-once sound. And what we do for the hammer is we use the muscles in the arm. So when we strike the string, the muscles in the arm are jumping and creating that strike. It's kind of like a rattlesnake, right? So if you have a rattlesnake, the body of the rattlesnake is all muscle. When he strikes, the muscle tightens and he strikes all at once. And that's kind of what we're doing with our arm. It's all at once. Oops, wrong note. And we do it even from clear up here in our bicep and forearm area. You can see the whole arm move when I do that. Okay, so that's the hammer. And the pull is, of course, descending. When we pull the G note, I'm going to use the first string and play the G open and pull off to the E open. It's important that we do that with the finger, not the hand. If we move our whole hand when we do that, we put ourselves completely out of position. So we want to do it with just the finger movement so that we can get the speed and accuracy that we need to play those pull-offs. And that gives us all the different hammers and pulls. So that's the way we do the hammers, and that's the way we do the pulls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an exercise, and I'm going to do it at metronome 50 first, so that you can get a vision of what it is. hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how to play and physically make those hammers and pulls. Now we're going to move to 100 now and do the same thing at the goal speed, which is 100. Okay, so that's the explanation of hammers and pulls, and then played with the exercise section of this lesson. Okay, the next part of this lesson is the "You Are My Sunshine" song. So it is now the chord, the melody is all played with a downstroke, and then when we go into the scale part of it, the fill scale, that's when we put in the hammers, okay? In this section we're going to do the pulls. And that creates that whole little arrangement there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play it at 80, which is half speed. Half speed is 80. You Are My Sunshine, half speed. And that's You Are My Sunshine at 80. Now we're going to move it up to 160, which is the goal speed. And if you can play it faster than that, that's okay. And if you have trouble getting it up to the 160 mark, that's okay too. Just keep trying and it'll come together for you. All right, it's fast. And there we go. That's lesson 2. Okay? So it's important that when you practice lesson 2 that you first work it up to the half speed mark. So the scale, make sure you can play it at 100 before you go to lesson 3. The exercise, make sure you can play it at 50 before you go to lesson 3. And the song, the You Are My Sunshine song, play it at 80 before you go to lesson 3. So, and then when you go to the next lesson, when you reach that goal, when you go to the next lesson, you'll want to keep working on lesson 2 to build up the metronome until it gets completely to the goal, which is 200, 100, 160 on these, okay? So there you go. That's lesson 2. Enjoy. See you in the next lesson.